Hey friends, Mike and Jess here.
And welcome to Regeneration Nation TV. Today we are reacting to David Mitchell as he roasts history's most overrated monarchs. I'm looking forward to this because I think it's going to be a different side of David Mitchell that we have never seen before.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we've watched a bit of Al Murray. He likes to mix in history lessons with his comedy.
Yep.
So I really don't know what to expect from this. It comes from Dan Snow's history hit. So yeah, I'm looking to learn. We're looking to get educated here today. And hopefully a little bit of comedy. David Mitchell,
It's
come on.
definitely going to be a lot of bit of comedy.
Yeah, and the word roast is in there. I'm going in expecting to laugh a little bit and learn a little bit. So if those expectations aren't met, I don't know what I'm going to do.
I'll be disappointed.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to Dan Snow's History Hit channel. Go ahead, join me and subscribe. We've got links for his channel down below. And yeah, let's get into this.
Let's do it.
Bastards, basically. The standard of conduct is woefully below what we'd expect, even of Hollywood. What you have to do, you have to be horrible. They were all horrible. You have to be willing to kill at a moment's notice. I'm not keen on William the Conqueror, and I'm not keen on Edward the Confessor. I certainly feel that if they swapped roles, they'd both be very unhappy.
To what do we owe this great treat? Why are you a colossus delving into our little world of history? What's going on?
I started writing this book during the lockdown when a lot of people are trying to write things, and I hadn't been. And then I started typing about the Vikings.
Oh, brilliant.
Because it occurred to me that COVID is a bit like the Vikings, in that it was a terrible thing that suddenly happened to an unsuspecting community. In the case of my typing, Anglo-Saxon England, and
That's so funny that's where his mind went during COVID. You had so much free time, like your mind was just wandering all over the place. So it's funny that he made that connection to that, and then Vikings, and then I see his book behind him. Is that the book that he is talking about, Unruly?
I would assume.
Or is he just a bona fide author? He's got many books. This is a side that I did not know of David Mitchell.
In the case of my typing, Anglo-Saxon England, and suddenly they were being Anglo-Saxon England in their way, and it wasn't a great life, but they were used to it. And then suddenly the Vikings turned up, and it was grim, and they didn't know why. They didn't know whether they'd stop turning up, whether they'd go away, and just thought that's one of the bleakest things about being a human being. Sometimes a bit of history just happens to you, and there's nothing you can do, and you're a victim of it, and you're not part of it, and you don't have agency. And the Anglo-Saxons, as we did, tried to give themselves some agency by saying it was their fault. And have all the talk about, yes, with COVID, we haven't been preparing enough for pandemics, or that somebody maybe ate a bat, or whatever it was. Let's please, as humanity, let's take ownership of it and make it something we've done to ourselves, rather than the more frightening thing, which is just something that's happening to us that has nothing to do with us and makes us not a villain, but just a victim. And that's what
I love that stance on life in general. I love that.
I do, but there's so
Extreme
much deeply
personal ownership.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Life's more enjoyable to me when I take ownership. I hate just feeling like things are out of my control.
Right.
Because I used to feel like that. I'm like, all of these outside things out of my control are dictating my future, my present.
Yeah.
And there's not really anything I can do except be miserable about it.
That's a helpless feeling. You don't ever want to feel like that, for sure. I do like feeling like I'm in control of my destiny and the choices that or the things that happen to me, rather. I should say that.
Nothing to do with us, and makes us not a villain, but just a victim. And that's what happened with the Vikings turning, and the Anglo-Saxons said, oh, it's God's cross with us. We haven't been praying enough. We haven't been holy enough. That wasn't why. It was just because that, the socio-economic conditions in Scandinavia shifted slightly, as did maritime technology.
You can't control the waters around the island, David, as we know. That's the ongoing problem in British history. So it
used to be Vikings, now it's sewage.
Then they try. I've got images now of the monks on Lindisfarne attempting to sort of enforce social distancing. Sorry, can we just...
Well, it's the ultimate social distancing, just going to Lindisfarne, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, exactly. Why kings and queens? Why do we return? It's so interesting. We return time and again to this. Does it give us this what does it give us a track and narrative that we can then hang on the rest of British history onto?
I think so. I think for me, certainly in the medieval period that my book's about, that's the basic political narrative, the who's in charge narrative. And that doesn't tell the full story, but it tells one of the main stories, and it has and it leads you through it. You know, in many ways, there are more important things to look at in terms of the lives of the majority of the people, but in terms of characters and story, that's what I was drawn to. And you can't also, one of the reasons my book ends in 1603, and one of the reasons is that after that, if you just talk about the kings and queens, that becomes less and less relevant, and that stops being even the main political story after 100 years or so.
I think that's so true, because if we're in this pod, we're going to try and just talk about trying to get a bit of a pecking order going. And actually, it's so hard to compare medieval monarchs with early modern and modern ones, because you end up having to go, well, was Elizabeth II better than Athelstan? And you're like, it is just, you're comparing two totally different entities, aren't you?
I certainly feel that if they swapped roles, they'd both be very unhappy. I think if Elizabeth II was trying to consolidate Anglo-Saxon control on a partly Viking-occupied island, I don't think that would have been her great strength. And similarly, I think he might have found it a bit frustrating, the endless duty and positivity, and he might just, at some point, can I slash someone to bits with a sword? You go, no, Your Majesty, just now take the posy of flowers and smile.
That's such an interesting thought experiment that I've never thought about. You take two really good leaders, two people who were, really, pivotal in that moment in time where they were at, and then you swap them. It's like, are you still, are you flexible?
It's two vastly different,
How flexible are you?
Acceptances of how they ran. Like this one would,
You're very much a product of your time,
Yeah.
and you're good in that role
crazy.
because of a lot of things. And so being swapped like that, it probably would not go well for any of them.
No.
Whenever I write and think about kings and queens, it's our bizarre habit of starting the king list with William the Conqueror. It just is so strange, isn't it? And you've gone all the way back to the early medieval as well, haven't you?
Well, I thought if we're going to define a book, one of the ways you could define it is say it's about the kings and queens of England. And so you immediately say, okay, so England has to exist. And England didn't exist. I mean, obviously the physical space did, but no one called it England before the Anglo-Saxons arrived, because that term derives from then. So we can forget about the Romans. And similarly, after Elizabeth I, you got the same monarchy in charge of England and Scotland, and so it starts to be more Britain.
But the big problem we all face, isn't it, is who was the first king of England?
Yes.
It's a nightmare.
Well, it might be Athelstan.
Wow.
It might be Edward the Elder. It's not Alfred the Great.
Sadly not.
But it's around then. As I say in the book, it's a sort of soft launch, the King of England.
That's something, that I did not know.
Nope, not at all. That it was not a definitive person.
You
There's
don't
still,
know.
It's like other things that we've experienced with this culture. Is like they have stories of people who have done this, and then they have stories of people who have also done it, and then they have like that clash of who was it?
Who did
kind
it
of thing.
first?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, are we getting back on the light bulb?
No,
How dare you drag us back onto the light bulb? Look what she did, guys.
Because the Anglos, before the Vikings came, the Anglo-Saxons definitely had lots of different kingdoms and a vague sense that they're from the same cultural root, but no real sense that the notion of England is really forged in opposition to the Vikings.
Were you kind of drawn towards those early monarchs? I find them increasingly interesting, only because we overlooked them until quite recently. They just weren't part of our kind of national story.
I like it because it's so confusing.
Definitely.
And you understand why there's been so much televising of the Tudors, because you sort of know where you are. There's a handful of easy characters to get a grip on.
You can assume a bit of knowledge in the audience. Everyone knows where they are.
But the Wars of the Roses, it's all over the place, and I even since writing the book, I've forgotten most of it.
Okay,
but
great.
the Plantagenets going into the two cadet branches of York and Lancaster, that's the big muddle of what basically happened in medieval England that I used writing this book to briefly get a sort of grip on. But the confusingness of it is attractive, and that's what all kingship is. Our notion of kings is partly Henry VIII, but apart from his big iconic figure, we're thinking of kings that were in that period. That's the proper period of kings. That's when all of the aesthetic of kingship derives from that time. They had crowns, they had shields, they had coats of arms, and that's what. And all of the pictures of King Arthur have him like that. Even though, if he had existed, which he didn't, he was a millennium earlier and would have had very, very different clobber. Probably.
You could have told me and I would have believed it. You could have told me a whole story about King Arthur and I would have believed it. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. I mean, we're not history buffs to begin with, but then...
Also, the history of England, I know nothing about. I know nothing about monarchs. I know nothing about
It's more
royal
mixed with fantasy here. And a lot of the stuff that we consume in the media, it's like kings, queens, knights. And then it quickly just King Arthur, Merlin, wizards, dragons. And then it's just like, wait, what?
It's all blended together. Were there dragons, really?
Yeah. Merlin wasn't a real guy. What are you talking about?
There wasn't really wizards? What?
That. Even though, if he had existed, which he didn't, he was a millennium earlier and would have had very, very different clobber. Probably a bit of an old toga, you know, and
clinging on to the
half a gladius and a sandal.
Is writing a history book sort of dad? Is that one of the dad sort of things to tick off? You know, like it's dad life, hashtag dad life. Because I mean, the reason I ask you about writing history books, it strikes me that one of your more famous alter egos, someone who you've had to struggle in the past to put distance between you and this fictional person. He wanted to write a book called Business Secrets of the Pharaohs, I think.
Yes. Well, look, I can't say that I've entirely escaped the shadow of Mark Corrigan in writing a history book.
We'll find out who this guy is.
We can't wait
soon.
to dive into Peep Show. It's one of the shows that are at the top of our list.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing a lot of him on Wilty. This is why I love podcasts in general, because you get to see people that you already enjoy and one, niche thing that they do. Mm-hmm. And then you just get to watch them have a conversation for an hour or two or maybe 3 or whatever it is. This is great to see him in this environment.
I've entirely escaped the shadow of Mark Corrigan in writing a history book. This is a book that he might be interested in.
Well, I think so.
But But the thing about him and me, we were young fogies, and now I'm gradually growing into the appropriate age for fogey.
That's as another young fogey. It's quite nice because all your friends suddenly join. You don't move. You remain as interested in Stalingrad as you were at 19.
Yeah.
But strangely, your sort of weird mates who are interested in like house music and other things start to, and then sometimes surpass you. Like I've got mates now who are like writing detailed descriptions. Their grandfather at the Battle of Passchendaele. I'm like, you've overshot the runway.
Yeah. That is interesting that, like, I don't know if it's the same for women, but as we get older, I just get more interested in history and politics. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, but you just get more and more.
A male thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to put anybody in a box, but I think I become more involved in like cooking and making sure that I run a household properly. Like I'm very interested in that. So like little things like that to do with it. Yeah. It kind of went off sidetrack, but still.
Well, I mean, your mom, we've talked about this, but your mom like did a lot of those things for you. So like it was something that you didn't enjoy doing early on in life. So I mean, you've really taken, like, you had to move me the heck out of the way and be like, I want to do some of this stuff. Yeah. And, this has gone a little bit off, but I just wanted to make sure people know, you have gone from 0 to hero when it comes to cooking, dude. Your cooking used to be bland as hell and basic. And now it's like, damn, what happened? And yeah, anyways, just a little brag on Jess there.
What's your music collection looking like now?
Exactly. I love people's different perspectives on all the monarchs. Can we just start with any that you are just sick of and you think are massively overrated?
I'm not keen on William the Conqueror.
Okay.
I'm not keen on William the Conqueror, and I'm not keen on Edward the Confessor.
Well,
now, I wouldn't say Edward the Confessor is massively overrated, but
no one likes him.
We call him. Well, I'm very glad to hear it, because it seems like lots of people like him. They allow him to call himself Edward the Confessor and talk about his holiness and his praying.
Absolutely useless man.
He was a useless man. Totally. He sowed the seeds of discord.
Absolutely. Do we not like William the Conqueror because you have a kind of nostalgic love for the Anglo-Saxon sort of, all a bit 19th century, a bit nostalgic for that? Or do you just think he was a right bastard who was just a violent psychopath?
Well, they were all right bastards, basically. In terms of the standard of conduct is woefully below what we'd expect, even of Hollywood. There were so many times in the Middle Ages where people were just waiting for this useless bastard to die, and very occasionally they go, well, it could be ages, even though it's the Middle Ages and people just drop dead for no reason all the time. We just can't wait for him to die. We're going to have to do something else.
Edward II, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's just too long. He might not die for 30 years.
Yeah,
his father made old bones.
His dad made old bones, and his son did.
Richard II, similarly. It's going to be too long before he dies. We're just going to have to put him in a castle and starve him.
So, William the Conqueror.
Oh gosh, this sounds like Game of Thrones, dude. Some Joffrey type stuff.
Like, I'm so not familiar with a monarchy and having a king and a queen. I mean, I obviously didn't live during those times either, but I'm just saying, like, to have a son and know that he's going to be the king, whether he's an idiot or whether he's a screw up or whether he's a freaking psychopath, you still got to put him in the
animals
freaking,
as a kid, and then you're like, oh,
and you still got to put him in the throne. So it's like you skip a generation. Like, maybe this son coming up is going to be one that's going to lead us in the right direction and not be a greedy idiot. But like, how many times did that happen? Like, that's what I would like to know. I would like to go back and see.
It's just crazy. Like, he's talking about people dropping dead in that time. Like, people on the outside of that, just peasants. Like, you don't have a very long lifespan to begin with.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, you're gonna have in your mature life with a good head on your shoulders, maybe like 30, 40 years at most.
Yeah.
And like, you're being taught that the world is this way. By the time that you figure out that, like, oh man, we're being led by an evil guy.
Yeah.
Like, we should probably overthrow him. You're like, oh, I've only got like 3 years of my prime left.
Yeah.
Shit.
That's crazy though to think
Better
about.
Tell somebody that's younger than me.
Yeah.
I don't know
and hope
what to
it
do with
sticks.
this info.
But what are you gonna do? Like,
we need to overthrow this guy. I'm out of my prime now. It's on you.
It's on you.
I just figured it out last week. I'm sorry it took so long.
II, similarly, it's going to be too long before he dies. We're just going to have to put him in a castle and starve him.
So, William the Conqueror, you don't like him because you're affectionate.
You've got to pick a side, right?
Okay,
I mean, that may be that some academic historians would say you don't.
I think possibly.
But I think they've lost the joy. But I think the Battle of Hastings, one of the first things you get taught about, or I got taught about, and you've got to pick a side. Do you want to pick the invading Normans, or do you want to pick the Harold sitting on Senlac Hill? And I picked Harold. Most of the people in my class picked Harold, but turns out, sadly, spoiler alert for people who haven't yet bought the book, Harold loses.
Crikey.
And that's a bit of a shame. And it's one of the good reasons not to start your history of the kings and queens of England with William the Conqueror, because it's a bit of a pisser.
Harold's an attractive character, I think.
Yeah, he's very obviously had no birthright to be king, but that we feel more relaxed about that now, that we're not so keen on the whole notion of people being in charge because of a birthright. But he was professional. He was organised. He did everything right. Except, and he would have won the Battle of Hastings if his army had listened to him.
And his brother Tostig was obviously such a horrible person. Yeah. Harold got rid of him.
We all know families can be difficult, and I feel for Harold trying to deal with Tostig. And he's got a nice earldom in the north. Things are going nicely for him, but he pushes his luck, and I think Harold deals with it with great dignity.
So you're a Harold.
I'm gonna have to get his book.
I do want to read it.
It's very clear that is the book. You can read it on the front.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna have to get this book. We'll include links down below if you want to get your hands on it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, History of England's Kings and Queens, Unruly.
And I think Harold deals with it with great dignity.
So you're a Harold fan.
Yeah.
You are not a William fan. Anyone else overrated?
I think the Tudors in general are overrated because they're not, and their imagery is great. The portraits of Henry VIII and Elizabeth I in particular, that's great iconography, but they're a bit of an afterthought of medieval kingship, really. And I think in their time England is essentially accepting its own mediocrity. Henry VIII, it's got to be said, he's been overcovered, but he is a lot of fun. I understand why he's had so much coverage, and in a way, looked at in terms of if you take the job of a king not to be to rule his own age, but to give lots of interesting stories to posterity, he has been an amazing content provider. And I do accept that he's fun, but I've had a bit of enough of him. And also, if you think about him for more than 5 minutes, he was so awful, unbearable. You know, almost you'd rather a complete tyrant. But the fact that he had a sort of an intelligent, thoughtful, intellectual side to him almost makes his tantrums and his
crushing insecurity,
all the more contemptible.
So you're a blood and thunder guy. I mean, you like a king. What was it, Henry IV of Navarre and of France said, I rule with my arse in my saddle and my sword in my hand. That's your archetype.
Well, that was the way to do it. That's what Henry II did, and he's one of the most effective medieval monarchs, albeit one who sort of met with a sad, lonely end. Yeah. Henry I was great, and he's a professional.
I like it. I agree. He got rid of his brothers.
Yeah. And he usurped the throne brutally. Which is,
no, there was a terribly unfortunate hunting accident in the New Forest where poor Prince Harry saw his older brother William get killed very accidentally and not on purpose at all.
Well, he definitely bounced back quickly from his grief.
Oh my God!
And got in ahead of the elder brother. I mean, what a life!
One of life's losers.
Yeah,
one of history's losers.
Robert Curthose, who died. He was made very old bones, but spent most of his life in Cardiff Castle.
So I would like to know what the phrase "made old bones" means.
Yeah.
Because I could guess what it means, but I just want to make sure that I'm 100% right in the way that I'm thinking when they're saying it.
Yeah, I took it as like forced to kind of sit there and wither away.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just, give up on
Spent most of his life in Cardiff Castle. Yeah. And, Cardiff wasn't the vibrant centre then that it is now. So I feel sorry for him. But no, Henry I, it just feels like he's professional. He got it. What you have to do, you have to be horrible. They were all horrible. You have to be willing to kill at a moment's notice. But if you do it with a rationale, you do it even-handedly, you don't have favourites, and you have some notion of the stable government you want to be heading towards, then it can work out. And he created a very peaceful kingdom, albeit through violence. And
it is so crazy. It is so crazy to look back through history to like think of how we got here. This is my whole, like, to get a little deeper, this has been my whole hang up on religion. Like I grew up as a Christian, and as I started to become more interested in history, and religion and history is very much tied together, I was just like, what in the world? Like, it just turned everything that I thought upside down. I'm like, man, these are just evil people. The only reason that we know this over this, like, there's all these cultures that were just completely wiped out. The Spanish would come in and just completely burn all of your books, whatever you had, your history is gone now. Yeah. So the only reason that we know the history that we know today, and we know of the religions that we know today, is because they killed more people than these people killed. And it was tough for me. And it's still tough for me. So yeah, I don't know. These people, all of these people were kind of like a product of their environment. I get that, at the time, you had to be ruthless to survive, and especially if you wanted to to shape the world, you really did have to be ruthless. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Albeit,
I mean, it had to happen. I don't know. Yeah.
We wouldn't be sitting here.
We're
today,
here now.
I feel like, but
yeah, we wouldn't. But it's just like there's all these branching paths that like history could have taken. And this is the one that we're on. Yeah. And when you learn about how we got here and the people who were in charge, it's just crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
Created a very peaceful kingdom, albeit through violence. And in those days, that's sort of as good as it gets. And also, another thing he doesn't do that many of the other ones that vie for best king, they all do, is he didn't try and conquer too many other places. that puts a lot of pressure on the kingdom when the hundreds of years where every king of England is trying also to be king of France, and it's not really viable. But he said, no, I've got Normandy and England, and I'm going to stick.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Okay, so Tudors overrated, William the Conqueror's overrated. Anybody else that you came to really think was... So Elizabeth Tudor usually tops the list, doesn't she? Elizabeth I.
She I suppose she is overrated. She wasn't amazing.
I struggle with her because sometimes I think, oh, what amazing, and all that kind of clever politics. And then partly you think, well, Ireland was a disaster. She didn't solve any of the big problems. She delayed all the big problems. Didn't seem to solve any of them. So I struggle with her. So.
Well, the thing about her that people don't seem to say, but strikes me, and it's a success of her brand building that people don't say it, is she was just very, very cautious.
Yeah.
And she inherited the throne at a time where she was the daughter of Anne Boleyn. The country is hugely divided, religiously speaking. She was in an extremely insecure position and had a tricky life up to then. So I understand the caution. It's an intelligent person's response. But she sort of knew she was on a sticky wicket and behaved like it, really. And she was, repelling the Armada went well, but everything she actively pushed out into the world was essentially underfunded and nervously done.
Well, and she underfunded the poor old sailors who fought in the Armada as well, to their great detriment. So,
well, she sort of launched her own Armada, didn't she?
Oh, yeah,
a couple of years later, that went at least as badly.
We've got that one.
Yeah.
What's our?
I never watched the Tudor show. The Tudor show was like such a big hit. It was like this show about like that whole family dynamic, I guess, but it was more like probably sensationalized and sexualized and stuff like that. So you could have like the that kind of like
I think I've seen
drama. But
I think I know what you're talking about. What show you're talking about?
Yeah.
My sister loves those shows.
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten into them. I think the most historically, I don't know, a show that has to do with history would probably be Spartacus on, I think, HBO or something.
Yeah, pretty good show, I think.
It was all right. It was all right. It was very sexualized. It's basically a soft core.
Yeah, it was definitely for the sex scenes for sure. But I would just like seeing those pictures of them just now, like how much of that dress, like I would love to sit in the room when that portrait was being painted. Like I would just love to see what she actually looked like in real life, because I don't know how much of it is exaggerated or if she really did have puffy sleeves that were the size of her head and like all the jewelry and stuff. Real. Like that's incredible to me.
Yeah.
I would love to wear one of those outfits.
The makeup.
Yeah.
Looks like they have 5 pounds of makeup on their face.
Absolutely. Crazy.
At least as bad.
We've got that one. Yeah. What's our, dare I ask, have we got top 3?
Well, I think Henry II was pretty amazing.
I think so too.
And he held together, I mean, most of France as well as England, and it's all down to energy. And also I think he wasn't great at dealing with his own family, because the relentlessness with which his sons tried to overthrow him to me, it suggests that he must have been a difficult chap, domestically speaking.
But
he's
Henry
good.
First and second.
Yeah. But I'm wondering about, the big two in terms of trying to conquer France are Henry V and Edward III.
Yeah.
They both tried with all their might to take over France, and they both nearly succeeded. But the whole notion of trying to take over France is so ridiculous that can you count them great kings? For that they've devoted themselves to something that was it was a horrible experience for both of the armies and the poor French. I mean, you sort of think about all the famous battles of the 100 Years' War. Poitiers, Crécy and Agincourt, these great victories where outnumbered English armies destroy huge French armies because the French armies have got a ridiculous strategy. It makes the English the underdogs, and it makes us feel all good and plucky. But the reality is all of this is happening in France. The reason the English are so outnumbered is that they have left home in order to destroy the livelihoods, crops and villages of people in a neighbouring country who've done them no harm. So that suddenly slightly turns around the whole plucky underdog thing to say, no, what they are is nasty thieving bandits. And, sometimes a burglar will be in a house and find himself outnumbered by the people that live there. But that doesn't make him plucky.
I think you're saying quite different.
That was a great way to put a spin on it. And
thieving bandits.
It's funny how history gets kind of not rewritten because it's right there. You can still look into it, but
the way it's perceived when you're being taught it or when you're
it's all up to your history teacher in that moment, because they all take things from the lesson. They all teach it differently. You know what I mean? And they interpret it differently too. So it's up to the teacher that you learned it from, how you're going to then tell your friends about that story later on.
Numbered by the people that live there, but that doesn't make him plucky.
I think you're setting quite a difficult set of parameters, because you like a thug, but you don't.
Well,
but you don't
thugs
want them
and
to
thugs.
be. Yeah, exactly. But you don't want them to be. You like them to be sort of thuggish within a kind of national community rather than invading the next door one.
Yes. Well, I think what I'm expecting. Firstly, you say I like a thug. I think the thuggish nature of government then was regrettable.
Yeah.
But it's all thuggish.
Yeah.
So you can choose the sort of bonkers thugs that you don't know what they're going to do next, the more even-handed thugs, the thugs that fail in their aims, the more successful thugs. And so on the basis that they're all thugs, I'm picking the even-handed successful thugs over the unsuccessful capricious thugs.
It is so crazy because, you know, back then it's like, if we don't go and conquer and make sure that kind of like what the things that we believe in are the things that dominate the world, somebody else is going to do it, and then we don't even know what they believe in. We don't know, but I'm pretty sure we're pretty good. We're pretty good, right? We're all right. Yeah. We should probably spread this. Okay. We're okay. We should probably spread this okayness rather than the unknown. We don't even know what they're...
Spread this okayness.
Yeah, I mean, we're all right. We're not, like, great. We're not perfect, but we're all right. We're all right enough. And I'm pretty sure I saw them eating dogs or something, so... We should not let, that wasn't too nailing that. People out there got accused of that before. Whoopsies. God. It was supposed to be like a never happened before reference to where you couldn't extrapolate anything, but I slipped up. But anyways, like, hey, we've seen them do some messed up stuff. It was weird. And we ate some of their food too. It was nasty. So we can't let them take over the world. We got to do it.
Even-handed successful thugs over the unsuccessful capricious thugs.
That's very clear. I have a soft spot for Henry VIII, who I don't think was thuggish enough. But
he's certainly, his worst enemy wouldn't call him a thug. You're right. No. Henry III and indeed Richard II and Ethelred the Unready, the unusual thing. A medieval king that doesn't really want to go to war.
Henry VI. Poor Henry VI.
And Henry VI, he's another one. But yeah, he was, I mean, he had more problems than that. You know, nowadays, we don't want our leaders starting wars. In those days, if you didn't want to ride into battle, it's a big part of the job description that you're not willing to cover.
What makes good king or queen? I mean, the organised violence side of it aside, is there anything else?
I think all of the things that we expect from government today, you've just got to ignore that. They're not trying for any of it. They're not trying for peace. On the contrary, they're waging war. In terms of education and healthcare, they're not interested. Forget about it. So all you can expect is stability. That's the good kings provide stability, the bad kings don't. And that stability comes from being predictable in your actions and firm and not having favourites. And I think that's why the people, Henry I was particularly good at that. He's even-handed. He didn't have a clique. The worst kings, the ones that caused the most trouble, Richard II, Edward II, Henry VI, have favourites.
You were talking about kingship like they don't have human bodies themselves. So I now, as I get older, I realise how different I am at various different stages in my life. And these people, as you mentioned, like Edward III, they're trying to be Edward III, but you can be Edward III as a young man, but then you've also got to be Edward III as a guy crippled with musculoskeletal pain, and it's fascinating, isn't it? How they age, and then that changes the nature of their rule.
Yes, and perhaps we expect too much of them. Yeah. And one of the biggest mistakes I think Henry I made was at the end of his reign, when he caused a rift between himself and Geoffrey of Anjou and Matilda, his daughter, who was, his designated heir. and because he basically refused to give Geoffrey some castles that had been promised to him, and that is an old man clinging on to all of his possessions and telling himself he's frightened that if he gives these castles to Geoffrey, that's going to start Geoffrey trying to take over Normandy, which I think there's no evidence for at all. But the fear he's feeling really is of death. But he projects that onto his son-in-law. And as a result of that rift, that gave Stephen, the next king, the excuse to claim that Henry I didn't really want Matilda to inherit the throne. And that causes 20 years of civil war.
Wow.
But that's the product of the changing mentality of an aging man.
Yeah, an old
That
man's
is so
fear.
interesting.
And he's
That
holding
is so
on to
interesting.
stuff.
David's really talented at this. You know, he's passionate about it. You can tell. But yeah, this is really interesting hearing him talk about it. And I think the closest visual representation that matches what he was just describing is from the House of Dragon show, when King Jaehaerys like is just getting older and more decrepit, but he's still a great ruler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it was really, I don't know. That was really interesting.
That's what I was thinking about in my head when he was saying that, when he was getting older, like when he's just got, that's crazy.
And obviously Edward III, he completely outlived his faculties, and that was a shame as well. He'd been this great general and quite a good leader and clearly an effective father, because his family liked him and had a strong marriage with his queen, but then she died and he starts to lose his grip and is very much in the thrall of his lover, and the country starts going bankrupt because he's still trying to fight a war in France, and it's a very, very sad end to a very glorious reign.
I think wives are important, and they're often overlooked, aren't they? I think Henry I had a very good wife, and Henry
I like
II
that
had
statement.
a remarkable wife.
Wow.
And as you say, but I think that those are some of the details that we can ignore, perhaps, as traditionally men have written about them through the kind of military lens.
Yeah, and we don't hear so much about the queens. The Queen's consort.
Speaking of amazing wives, we've got Eleanor of Aquitaine.
Shout out to the queens, okay? It's important. It's important. Like, if I don't know who I'd be, I might not even be alive if I hadn't met you. Prison or just death would probably be where I am right now. So
Don't make me cry at the end of this video, please. Goodness me.
Just not only that, just me having you in my life. It's just, I don't know, man. I'm better in so many ways. So to have somebody ruling over a large amount of people, like just think about a boss, and you have a large hotel, and you just have all these employees, and if you're just a miserable person, you don't have anybody, or the person you go home to is making things worse, and they're always attacking you over the next thing. Yeah, you're not going to be a good leader, and those people in turn are not going to be happy, and it affects so much.
It does. Because you're a good leader when you realize that everything that you do affects the big scheme of things. You're affecting so many people that are under you.
And you're a good wife when you realize that the man that you are married to has that responsibility, and you not only have a responsibility to him now, but you have a responsibility to all the people that he's in charge of ruling over.
Yeah.
But then Emma of Normandy is fascinating, isn't she? Being wife of two kings.
Emma of Normandy was married initially to Ethelred the Unready. She was his second wife. His first wife was called Elfiefu, and so he made Emma change her name to Elfiefu. Made things easier for him. But anyway, when he died, she then married the next king, but one, Canute. And so she's from Normandy, and she's married into the Anglo-Saxon royal house and then the Danish royal house. And her son by Ethelred the Unready, Edward the Confessor, was the later king. Her son by Canute, Harthacnut, was later king. She was a major sort of power node at that time, and she kicks off the whole relationship between England and Normandy, and we know where that led. And so we don't have any of her words. We don't really know what she was thinking or saying, but she was right at the center of things and an amazing survivor.
Man.
So, yeah.
That's so crazy. I would love to have just some kind of writing from her or like a journal or something that they found. But yeah, that's crazy that you only just have what people are telling you or what people have recorded from history. That's insane. Two
He
kings
was right at the
back to back. Like, what the heck?
center of things and an amazing survivor. So, yeah, it's a sort of sign that there are powerful women doing things as well, but we're not necessarily as aware of them as we should be.
When you're sitting there in modern Britain, writing away, do you think these men and women, did they matter? Like, the older I get, the more what did it, or is it all just science and engineering and microbes and do you think that the people in charge make a difference?
Well, yes, I wish I knew. They definitely.
I'm expecting an actual comprehensive answer right now.
They definitely make a difference in the short term. But here's the big question in terms of the period I've done. You've got for a long time in the Anglo-Saxon period, all the relationships from England are with Scandinavian kingdoms because of the Vikings. And you have King Canute, who is basically rules England and much of Scandinavia. And it sort of feels like that's England's orbit. And then suddenly a few of the right people die and that all changes and William the Conqueror comes over and England's orbit is all France. And then you have Henry VII and, you know, it's almost like the whole direction the country's looking in swivels round. Was that inevitable? Would that have happened if we know...
If Canute's kids hadn't been so bloody useless.
Well, yes, if he'd had more effective heirs, or if William the Conqueror had lost at Hastings, which could easily have happened, Harold the Godwinson, very much more Scandinavian looking. Would that trend have continued, or was the impact on England of Normandy and by extension France inevitable? That cultural power was a force beyond the control of any man or men. So would without William the Conqueror, would the Anglo-Saxon royal house still have basically been dealing with France 100 years later? And you see how I've avoided answering your question by just reposing it. I could be a politician, couldn't I?
Should be.
Oh my goodness, and there he is. There's David Mitchell. Oh, that's too good.
By just reposing it.
What a pro.
I could be a politician, couldn't I?
Should be. He wasted it.
That was a very political answer. Okay.
Best monarch to go for a beer with?
Monarch to go for a beer with, I think young Henry VIII.
Oh, okay.
I think young Henry VIII, he'd be good company, but I wouldn't trust him.
Best monarch to be your brother-in-law, to marry your sister?
To marry your sister? That is an incredibly specific question.
Yes.
It is. It's good.
My brother-in-law is not listed.
Okay.
These are good.
Best Edward IV. Yeah.
Bit of a shagger.
He was a bit of a shagger. I tell you what he did for his wife's family.
Oh, okay. That's a very good way of looking at it.
Absolutely showered them with wealth.
There you
But
go.
also, I think Edward IV is slightly underrated as well.
So
'cause he was
forget
quite
about
keen.
your sister. You're just thinking about everybody as a whole, your whole family. I'm going to be rich, so I want you to hook up with my sister. It doesn't matter if you shag other people while you guys are married.
Right?
No big deal.
Right?
We'll be wealthy.
Podcast. You are
I
there.
don't have a sister.
Well, there you go. That's why. Okay, that makes a lot of
That's what you
sense.
say.
She is there simply to bring honours and jewels upon the rest of the family. I love it.
I think they would have said that family that he made an okay brother-in-law.
That's true. And then his little brother came along and had them all killed.
Yeah.
Best one, it's gone a stag night team building exercise on a windswept island off the coast.
Right, now what do you want from someone like that? You're on a team building. I mean, if you're me, you want the monarch who will guide you to the latest pub the nearest pub that has nice rooms, so you can avoid the
Henry
whole
the
team
Navigator.
building
Yeah.
exercise. And so, I don't know. I think maybe, you see, Edward IV would be quite good for that sort of thing. He liked his creature comforts. I mean, they killed him in the end. But I'm going to try and think of someone. Richard the Lionheart.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
He was good. He was good at logistics, and I think if he was. I think if you could say, if you could tell him it was the holy thing to do, you need to say, we need to go on a crusade to find the pub.
Yeah. He did well on Cyprus, which is an island, so there, I guess so. David Mitchell, thank you very much for coming on this show. What is the book called?
It's called Unruly.
Unruly.
And it does all of the kings of England from the Anglo-Saxons to Elizabeth I.
All of your medieval kingship needs will be met.
And it has colour photography.
What?
Yeah, although no photographs of the actual kings and queens, sadly. But that's because photography wasn't invented in time. It's not my fault. So instead you have the dreadful drawings that were done of them by various medieval monks.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
That was amazing.
That was so fun.
Very well, thank you.
Well, it's good to have you.
When
now,
you say live, this isn't live.
No, it's not live.
No, live recording.
Did I say live? Yeah,
It's a live recording.
Well, I mean,
but that's actually a contradiction in terms. We're live now, but we may be dead by the time people watch this.
Dude, yes. That's great. That's great. That kind of set the tone, I bet, for Dan in that moment. Like, okay, this is going to be a good chat. That's great.
I love it. I love it because I don't think that I'm a very educated person, but I think that if you tell me something and if you educate me on something, I will retain the knowledge and I can have a conversation with you if I know something about it. Like if I have context, I can have a conversation. So it was really nice to be like a fly on the wall between their conversation and kind of get the context behind what they were saying of the certain things that were happening, because I have no idea who these people are. I've heard of some of them, but for the most part, like what they did, what they, you know, accomplished during their life, who they were married to, who their son was, just, you know, the timeline of everything. So it was really good going back and forth. I think they did a good job considering that most of the people that are watching, you know, may or may not know what they're talking about, doing the context behind it. You know what I mean? So it was easy to follow along and it was entertaining. So I thought that was really good.
Yeah, it was great. I really like that. And I'm going to be checking out more of Dan's stuff. Mm-hmm. He's great in his own right. I enjoyed both of them. David, I mean, he's going to bring in a lot of people who might not be into this. I really don't know. I mean, from my perspective anyways, he brought me over. Yeah. You know, he brought us into this and we've only seen him through his comedy. Yeah. And so, that was just so interesting. It was so easy to listen to. 30-minute video on a lot of stuff that we don't know much about. Mm-hmm. And I learned a lot, but not only that, it got me interested to learn more. It got me interested to check out his book. And to check out more of Dan's podcast. Mm-hmm. So, that was great. Thanks for introducing us to it. And if this is your first time watching, thanks for watching with us. Go check out Dan's channel. Yeah, I hope you had fun like we did. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. That really was. It really was. All right, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Bye, friends. Peace. I'm not scared of your love, so show me it. Let me